Hey everybody, my name's Nick Baumgartner, and I've got something I'd like to say about a very sensitive subject to a lot of people, abortion. Um, First off, don't message me and say that I'm wrong. I'm wrong for supporting it or anything like that, unless you plan on backing it up with some hardcore facts. Make sure I haven't already addressed those facts in this video. Um, use a little bit of Facebook intelligence. That's what I call it when you take time to do some research and really get your argument together before you make yourself look like a dumbass. But anyways, my first point is that a lot of the women that do think about having an abortion, whether they do it or not, they're already having a hard enough time with it. A lot of women actually change their mind at the last minute. A lot of times they're scared. They don't know what to do. So that brings me to 2 points. The first of which, when protesters are standing outside of an abortion clinic, calling these women names, monster or whatever, a lot of times it's not a pretty picture of what's actually going on at these protests. The woman's already going through a lot, so you're causing her more grief than she's already got. And secondly, these protesters don't even know if this woman's been told by her doctor that, there's a major complication that you may die during childbirth. And if that's the case, then these people are probably making this woman feel like that she's a monster for choosing to live her life. Anyway, with that said, I've done a little bit of research, and this is what I've discovered. 75% of women that do have abortions, they do so for 3 reasons. One's financial. They know they can't afford to support a child. Another reason would be a partnership issue. They may not know if they're going to be with their significant other for very much longer, or the other issue is, they may be too young or just not ready for parenthood altogether. Now you might say that, well, they can always put the child up for adoption. Well, according to the Congressional Coalition on Adoption Institute, the CCA Institute, there's about 397,122 children living without permanent families. They're in the foster care system. 101,666 of those children are eligible for adoption, but at least 32% of them is going to wait for 3 years or more. By the way, that foster care system is paid for by your tax dollars, so you might want to think about that too. Also, there's an orphanage in my hometown, so they're pretty common. And children that are raised in orphanages normally have about a 20-point IQ difference of kids that are raised in foster care with parents that do nurture them. In 2012, 23,396 kids aged out of the foster care system without any emotional or financial support of any kind that would be necessary to succeed in life. So I think it would be fair to say that if some of them actually beat the odds, there's still about 23,000 new criminals and welfare recipients on the streets. Another 23,000 people that you're going to be complaining about on welfare. And that's just in 1 year. So basically, if you're not financially stable, putting that child up for adoption 18 years ago only gave it about a 25% chance of becoming something other than a criminal or a welfare recipient. And those numbers aren't trending in a very good direction, by the way. In another 18 to 20 years, those numbers are not going to look as good as they do now. And think about it this way. Last year there was 1.2 million abortions that actually happened. Let's just say half of those were actually put up for adoption. That's another 600,000 kids a year when that foster care system is already keeping those kids for 3 years minimum. So think about where your tax dollars are going if abortion's illegal. Let me give you a hypothetical situation. There's a plane flying towards New York City, 230 passengers on it, 4 terrorists, and a nuclear bomb. And they intend to detonate this bomb over New York City. There's roughly 8.5 million people in New York City. The military considers that plane to have 234 corpses on board because they're going to kill those innocent people to save 8.5 million. And they'll do it in the name of public safety. Now, with the numbers I just gave you about adoption and all that, you have to think about that. It may take 20 years, but there's going to be an impact on society. Why should something that takes 20 years be any different? Now, the biggest reason people use to say that to denounce abortion is religion. They say killing an innocent person is taking a life. Even if that child's a product of rape or incest, the Bible says that that child should not be punished for the crime of his or her father. Now here's where I'm going to throw a kink into your entire way of thinking. Protesting solely based on religion, you're in direct violation of the First Amendment rights of someone else. This country was not founded on religion. It was founded on the idea of freedom of religion. It wasn't founded on Christianity. That's not true. The Pilgrims that came here, they were Quakers. That's a very pure Christian belief. But that was in 1620. It wasn't for 146 years later that the Constitution was drafted even later than that, but 146 years before the Declaration of Independence was signed. People came from all countries and religions, and the Founding Fathers were not all Christians. A lot of people would like to call me a liar about that, but that's the truth. And if you take the time to look it up from a reliable source that is not connected with any particular religion, you'll find that out. Basically, what that comes down to is if religious beliefs, if religious argument is the deciding factor for legislation for anti-abortion, then we fail as Americans to uphold the Constitution, because religion is not supposed to play any part in legislation. Now, let me throw a philosophical question at you. What's more humane? What's the bigger punishment? To force that child to be born into a life where it's roughly going to have about a 12% chance of being successful when it grows up? It's going to suffer for its entire life. That's a cold hard fact. Really, what's the worst punishment? Putting the kid out of its misery before it has a chance to suffer, or forcing it to be brought up into a world that isn't going to be very friendly to it? I mean, you care about the child in the womb, but when it's born, do you want your tax dollars to raise it? Just something to think about there. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. If you force a child to come up into this corrupted world, then your intentions might be good, but you just put that child on the road to hell. Well, thanks for listening to my view on this topic. I'm Nick Bumgarner, and I'll be looking forward to reading your hate mail. Have a great day.